making broccoli con penne, which is actually a dish that I learned from my mom. My mother, this was actually the last dish that I cooked with her before she passed away. We were visiting her in Texas, and she, at that point in time, was unable to get around without a wheelchair. And so my dad would set her up at the kitchen table, and he'd plug in an electric skillet, and he'd get the water for the pasta going on the stove, and get the broccoli and stuff started there. And then he'd bring it to her, and she'd cut up the tomatoes and get all the other stuff ready. And then when the broccoli was pretty much, not really cooked, but just steamed a little bit, then she would finish the rest off in the electric skillet. When the pasta was done, he'd pour it into that, mix it all up, and so she would be able to still continue to cook with him in the kitchen. So I'm going to go through it very quickly, and then I'm going to get some stuff going, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we put it all together. But basically, ingredients. And in terms of ingredients, no measuring here. This is what it is. And hopefully you'll be able to kind of figure it out. Oh, I've got water going back there. So I have water on for my pasta. It's about a pound of penne pasta. That's all that is right there. Store-bought penne pasta. I have two, I think they're like 12-ounce bags of broccoli florets. You can use I think my mother did like a whole head of broccoli, and then she cut it up into florets. I took the easy way, and using the broccoli, and what I'm going to do is steam this to get a little cooked before I start sauteing it. I love garlic. We love garlic. And of course, it's cold and flu season, so more garlic, the better. So I'm putting quite a few heads of garlic in that. Cloves of garlic. And then I have an onion, a red onion, that I'll be slicing up into kind of like the half moons. And then I will be cutting these up into chunks. And I'll show you the process as I go along when I start putting it together. This is how a peasant woman chiffonades. You break it. You don't use a knife. So I've got some oil in the pan, and it's going really, this is so simple. Chopped up some onion, red onion, putting that in. I'm going to wait until the red onion and some of the tomato has started to cook before I add the garlic, because I don't want the garlic to burn. And I didn't put that much red onion. I only put one red onion in there. So I'm going to add the tomato actually right now. My mother always used the plum tomatoes, or Roma tomatoes. Plum tomato, we call them plum tomato, Roma tomato. There we go. And this is kind of like the base for the sauce. There we go. Now I'm going to add my garlic. Yes, I have to get all that good flavor in there. Don't miss the garlic. And I'll probably be adding a little more olive oil as this starts to cook. And my pasta is cooking over here. I'll be checking that shortly. But I want this to cook down a little bit before I add the broccoli. And then, of course, I'm going to have to add a little salt. So let me do that right now, because that is going to help release some of the juices from the tomato. And we'll add a few cracks of black pepper. This is such a simple dish. And you can make it in an electric skillet if you want, with the exception of, actually you could probably on a separate thing boil the water and then put it aside and then start with this. But look at that. That's just kind of marrying together very nicely. All right, so take a look at that. See how that's starting to come together really nicely? And the garlic is in there, but it's not going to burn because it's got a nice base of juice. And so now we're going to add the broccoli, which I've steamed to kind of cook it down a little. It was raw, so I wanted to make sure that I like my vegetables a little crunchy, but not too crunchy. There we go. Now I'm going to add a little more oil and probably some salt. There we go. I think that's going to do it for that. And at some point, I may add some of the pasta broth if I feel I need a little more liquid. And I'm going to put a little salt on that, a little more. This looks like it's pretty close to al dente because I'm going to put it in there anyway, so I'm going to turn it off right now. And then I'm going to drain it, get it out of the water, and get it into my bowl, and I'm going to go back and give this some love. Because I just put some more salt on that. Here we go. Ooh, it looks so good. So this is getting ready now for me to add the pasta. This has such a nice little flavor with those onions and the garlic, the salt. I think it needs a little more pepper. There we go. There. I'm going to lower this heat because it really doesn't need it now. In fact, I'm going to turn the heat off because the pasta is cooked. And I am going to take it and put it right in. I didn't put any olive oil or anything on top of the pasta to keep it from sticking because it's going right into this. So it didn't really need anything. And I cooked it really al dente. It's still going to cook a little more while it's in here. Now, I would normally add cheese to this, but my beloved is not a big cheese lover like we are in my family. So I save that for myself at the end. But I'm putting that in there. And I'm going to... So I'm thinking that I may put some pasta water in here just to give it a little bit more juice. Because now it's eating up all that pasta goodness. I don't need very much, actually, very little, because I also don't want it to make the pasta soggy. I want that pasta to still have a little bite to it, but I will put a little bit of water. One more, because that's going to soak it up. There we go. Look at that. Oh my goodness, this looks fabulous. Okay, we're going to come right back and we're going to try it out. This is it. Broccoli con penne, my mama's dish. She actually got the recipe, I think, from my sister Anna. And Mommy added her own little spin to it. And my sister Anna, I think, adds her own spin to it as well. But look at that. Look at this. Oh, the smell is so phenomenal. And of course, Lent is coming up. So we're going to have some meatless meals coming. And I wanted to make this. I've been wanting to make, look at that juice. Got to add this right in now. Woohoo! Look at that. I want all the goodness. Now, you wouldn't even be able to tell that those are red onions because they've lost all their pigmentation. Look at that. And I'm not sure if my mother added the basil, but I like a touch of basil. Now I started cutting, I almost started to chiffonade it like the chefs do, cutting it. And I'm like, I'm Italian, I don't cut. We just pull apart and put it on there. So there's a little bit of basil in there, but I'm going to try it. I, of course, pecorino romano, it's the cheese. Now that is a dish. Look at that, so good. And oh, well, let's see if I can grab a thing of pasta, a little broccoli. Oh, look at that, perfect little spoonful. The pasta is perfectly al dente. I cooked it just a touch under al dente, and by the time it gets mixed in with everything, it just comes right to where it needs to be. And we've got the broccoli, the tomatoes, the flavor of the garlic and the onions, actually the flavor even of the pasta water mixed with the olive oil. It's so delicious. It's really, really good. Look at that broda. And then, of course, my favorite, we used to call this stinky cheese. So this is a tribute to my mom. I made this dish with her. Was the last dish she and I made together. She was sitting in her wheelchair at the kitchen table using her electric skillet. My dad was making the pasta and bringing it over, and we had a wonderful meal. And she died a few months later, actually. So it's really a special dish. We actually took a picture, and I'll put it in the video. After she made the dish, we had a picture together with her making this dish. And when she called, she'd be like, "Did you make it? Did you make," in her little Italian accent, "Did you make the broccoli?" Because I loved it. I loved it so much. So she was so happy to share it with me when we were there. And so it's very special and dear to my heart. So I hope that you enjoy this. Buon appetito.